Hey everybody, how y'all doing? And welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. I am your host, Hiram Roche, and here on this platform, it is men helping men redefine greatness through service. And so today is the ending of season 7. We've been on a great journey throughout this season. We've had some great conversations. And so what I wanted to do today is to be able to really dive in with us and have really like a real great one-on-one combo. So for that to be able to happen, what I need you to do for me is I need you to do something for me. I need you, one, to be able to share. I want you to share this with your friends, with your family. Let's get it out. But I also want you to do me a favor, and I want you to comment. I need you to comment. I need you to communicate with me on today as we dive into this conversation on today. So I posted to be able to say what the title of this conversation is. It's coming. That's what we're talking about today. It's coming. And one of the things that I believe, and I know that you probably feel the same thing that I've been feeling, is that there is something in the atmosphere that can't be explained. I've talked to several different type of people, and it's like they can feel that there is something happening. There is something stirring. There is something happening that is about to happen and is about to be major. Hey Kim, how you doing? Good to see you on. So it's something major that's about to happen in our lives, and it's one of those things where we cannot explain what's going on. And so what I wanted to do is take some time again to be able to talk with you today about it and really share something that's happening with me on my end. And then be able to then go deeper in this conversation, because I also want to know what's transition, what shift, what thing is happening in your personal life as well. So I would say, what now, 3 years? This year doing the podcast, this June was 3 years consecutively doing this podcast, going, I would say per se, hard, giving my best, doing my all. And in the entry of starting this podcast, my heart was specific. I knew that I had something that I wanted to be able to share, something that I wanted to be able to give. I knew that there were things that I could be able to help people with, things that I could be able to inspire people, help people to develop and grow in the way that they needed to be. And so when I first began, I began really one in fear. I was very terrified because this was something out of my comfort zone in some sense, where one, being sitting in front of a camera, talking to a camera, sitting in a lonely room by myself with just the camera and a mic and communicating and sharing what was on my heart at that time. And the entry was very fearful. It was very difficult for me to be able to do, as well as there was a lot of different transactions or transitions that was happening behind the scenes in my personal life. The year that I started the podcast, that same year, I had just transitioned from being a youth leader at my church. I had just had a major shift that happened in my life where one of my main mentors, which was my uncle, had just transitioned and passed away that year. It was so many dynamic things that was happening in that year. And this was one of those things that when all these movements and transitions and things were going on, in the midst of all of that, this came. The Focus on Greatness podcast was birthed and came to be. And so as this started, as this began, as this thing began, I had a passion to make sure that people were able to focus on the greatness that's within them. I truly personally believe, and I know y'all have heard this, surely for those that have been with me for a while, I truly believe that we all have greatness already within us. the thing that then needs to be able to happen in our lives is that thing, that greatness that we have now just has to be developed. It has to gather the tools that is needed for it to be able to be sharpened. But the way that that happens is we have to have focus. And so one of the things that I end up realizing that over the years, I started off really Bible-based, I would say it that way, coming more out of scripture, sharing with you the insights that I was getting in my time of study and spending time with God. And then it transitioned to where then I was being able to bring on guests, people that I have never met in my life, that I was having them on and having conversations with them and being able to really pull from them to be able to gain wisdom and tools to be able not only to gain for myself. I wasn't really per se doing it for me, but I knew that the people that God had called to this podcast, they were men that needed these tools. They needed to be able to know about finance. They needed to know how to be able to deal with depression. They needed to know how to be able to deal with the stressors that come with just being a man, being in relationships and different pieces like that. And again, there's been many transitions just in the 3 years. And now, again, as I stated in the entry of this, is now I'm feeling this major move that's about to happen. And again, I've been feeling this weight. I've shared it with my wife. I've shared it with one of my closest cousins. I've shared it with him and shared it with some of my friends. And I've been sharing this because I've been feeling like there is something stirring and something happening that's in this atmosphere that is not just for me. I feel like there is something major about to happen, but in the feel of this major move that I feel like is about to happen in my life and in our lives, I'm also feeling like that if this major move is about to happen, there's something that's about to occur majorly, then the question is, am I ready for what's about to occur? So what I've been doing lately is I've really been taking time to examine, allow God to be able to really pour into me and show me different things to make sure that I'm prepared as best as possible for what's about to occur. Again, I don't know. I really don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't know what's about to occur that's about to be so major. But what I do feel is I feel this push to be able to develop. I do feel this push to be able to make some adjustments. I do feel this push to be able to move in a different type of way than I've been moving lately. And so in this season of being in this position, I've been asking God, what am I supposed to be doing? Yes, Kimberly, preparation and discernment. What am I supposed to be doing in this season, in this time, before this major thing happens? And one of the major things that God has been talking to me personally about is, Hiram, you have to deal with and make sure that your heart is ready. I'm going to say that again, just for us. But Hiram, you have to make sure that your heart is ready. Yes, I understand that we're going to need some wisdom. We're going to need some information, some education, whatever that is going to be for this next thing that's about to happen. But before these things happen, one of the things that God has really been talking and saying is, listen, I need to make sure that your heart is ready. Now, I know you're probably saying, yeah, I've heard that context of statement before. But here's the reality. The reality is that sometimes what we walk into in the next season is not that things don't go the way that we plan, or it's not per se that they fall apart or that they do not last. Majority of the time, it's because we don't have the strength. We don't have the heart to make it into the end. Our heart is not strong enough to be able to carry what's about to happen next. So what I believe that God is doing is God is in this time frame preparing us for what he's about to do. Now, mine is my heart. because there are certain things over the years that I have personally went through that have affected my heart in a very negative way, not in a positive way, but in a very negative way. It's certain things that has affected my heart, and I did not realize that certain things were still certain residues was still sitting within my heart this whole entire time. I didn't even know that these things were happening, but what God has been showing and revealing to me is that there are things within your heart that I still need to be working on. There are things that I need you to make sure that you've dealt with. There are things that I need you to make sure that you allow me to be able to clean. I need you to allow me in this moment and in this season to be able to do it. Now, being very transparent is one of the statements that has been made to me has been, listen, not only do I need you to do it, but I need you to do it now. I don't need you to wait until you feel like it's the perfect timing. I don't need you to wait until something else has to occur. I don't need you to wait to where you feel like you have time, so to speak, to be able to then work on it. No, I need you to do it now. I need you to make sure that you take out the time to work on your heart now. And so for you, it might not be your heart. It might be your mindset. It might be the way that you think. It might not be, it might be specifically, it might be how you treat or how you've been dealing with people. It might be a various of different things. And I believe because God is a personal God, that whatever he's doing it personally. So whatever he's saying, it's specifically for you. But for me, it's been my heart. And in this season that I'm currently in this year, and for those that are probably going to listen to this or watch this in the future, in this year of 2022, it's been a shift. It's been a change. I've really been going through some things, realizing that in the place that I'm in, knowing that right now I'm in the place that God wants me to be in, but also realizing and feeling and knowing in the inside that this is not over, that there's something he has planned. It's something that he's doing behind the scenes that I don't know yet. It's something that I feel that's happening that is very major that I don't know what it currently is. But whatever that thing is, what I do know is it's about to be something big. And so throughout this year, just being able to be in the posture, in the place that I'm in a new city, in a new place, in a new atmosphere, in a new mindset, and being in this place has done something different for me. It has pushed me in certain different ways, as well as allowed me to be able to see in certain places where I currently really am. I think sometimes we imagine how we would treat, how we would act, what we would do once we get into the place that we feel like we're supposed to be. And so I think in this season, what I've realized is there are things that I know that I have. Okay, yes, I can see and I can recognize that those are strong suits, but there are things also that I've recognized that I have needed to deal with and develop in. And a lot of that is specifically because, again, for me, is because of my heart. There are certain things I did not let go. There are certain pains that I did not heal from. And there are certain things, probably I would even say probably even people that I did not realize that I never really forgave. I gave words, I said words, but in my heart, I still hadn't let it go. And throughout this season of being here in the beautiful state of Colorado Springs, in this being here, what I've recognized is that these things that I have been that I didn't know I still was struggling with this being here has pushed me, has pressed me a little, where those things that I was dealing with and holding on to have now been dealt with, have now been revealed to me that these are the things that I needed to be able to make some adjustments and fixes in. So I know you're probably listening and asking yourself, well, Hiram, what in the world does any of this context mean? Well, the question is, what have you been feeling? Where have you been? In this season, where have you been? What have you been feeling? Have you been feeling like there's things that's been popping up that has been showing you, hey, I need to deal with that? Is there things within you that you have been feeling that is a feeling or emotion or something that has tried to come up that you hadn't felt in a long time about a person, about a thing, about a situation? Is there things that's been transpiring throughout this year in your life and showing you certain things that need to be adjusted, fixed, or whatever? Have you been sensing that within your own self? And if you have, then you're the person that I'm talking to. Because what I'm about to share is where I believe that where we are in this season. Right now, again, as I opened, I made this statement that I believe that there's something major about to happen. I believe that there is something big about to happen. And I believe that it's about to happen quickly. And this statement, this thing that I believe is about to go and about to happen in our lives is a word that I have been hearing for probably a couple months now. And that is a shift. There is, I believe, a shift about to happen. One of the things that God has really been sharing with me and talking to me about, I would say, is this context that this shift is. The shift is shifting your perspective so that it can be able to shift your life. It's shifting, it's changing how you look at things. It's changing how you act in certain areas. It's changing certain things. It's shifting you totally so that you can be able to get in the posture, in the place to get to the place that you need to go to. Because here's the thing. There are some of us where you have had promises, you have had prophetic words, or you have had certain things that you've been wanting to achieve or do. And in that mode of you wanting to be able to do these things, what also has been happening is you feel like you have been giving all your efforts and everything you can to get to that place. But it just seems like for whatever purpose and reason, it has not happened. It has not allowed you to walk into that thing. And in some sense, you might feel like that you are doing all of this work and going nowhere. I know for me, probably a couple months back, I was examining and looking at the podcast. And as I was looking at the podcast, I was saying to myself and said to some people that are very close to me, I was like, man, I just feel like nothing's happening. I'm doing these works. I'm putting the time in. I'm recording the podcast. I'm sitting down with different people and having these interviews. I'm doing all these things. And even the people that I'm connecting to are saying, man, you're doing such a great job. Please don't stop. I'm talking to different people and they're saying the same thing. Don't stop doing what you're doing. It's helping me. It's all of these things. But I'm looking at everything that I'm doing and I'm feeling like I had gotten to a point where I felt like, man, why isn't this growing? Am I really being impactful? Am I really helping people? Am I just doing this and it's really not being effective? It's really not helping people grow, helping people develop? And as I'm sitting here thinking about this and going through these conversations, I had personally got to a point where I was thinking to myself, is it just time? Is it time for me to stop doing the podcast? Where even personally, I had gotten to a moment where, because I was not seeing this change or this move or what I felt that it should be in this time period, because I was not seeing this happen, I internally was feeling like, man, I failed. I'm putting in all this work, I'm doing all this stuff, man, and it was just, I didn't do good. I messed up. I didn't do good. This is not happening the way that I thought, that I envisioned it in my mind. And so while I'm wallowing in this pain and looking at this, this context, and really, sometimes you can look at the numbers and algorithms and all of these different things. And sometimes those things, yes, they give you pictures, but sometimes honestly, it can be very sad when you're not seeing the response or the numbers or the people that you are expecting to see, and trying to determine, based upon what you're looking at, is this actually effective? Am I actually helping people? The audience and the people that I feel like that I'm called to for this podcast, am I actually reaching them? Am I actually helping them? And being honest, I had told my wife and told my close friends, and I was like, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I think I'll just do something else. I'll just sit back and serve another type of way. But it's because I felt like I was going around in circles. I felt like what I was doing was not being effective. Thank you so much, honey. I see you. My baby said, I am so proud of the work that God is using you to do. Thank you, love. But this is what I realized. I realized that what if it's not just that I was not giving my best, or I was not being consistent enough, or all these other excuses and things that I was putting in my own mind that was allowing my mind to race and go down this negative tunnel. What if I was not ready for this next level? What if I wasn't ready for the podcast to go to the level that I seen it? I have a vision in my mind of what this is going to look like, what the podcast is going to be, and the things that the podcast is going to do, and the ways that the Focus on Greatness is going to be able to help people. I have a major vision for it. All the arms that will be able to reach and touch different. I have a major vision for it. But the reality was, and is, I would even say, dare to say, is that I wasn't ready for it. I was not mentally prepared for that. This shifting, I was not mentally prepared for it. I was not emotionally prepared for it. I was not disciplined enough to be prepared for it. Because the reality is that we have to think about is the dream, the vision, the goal, the thing that we want to achieve is not just for you. And so whatever you're building, whatever you're going to walk into, whatever you're going to create, it's going to be a house for people to come to. And when those people come, will you be strong enough? Will you be equipped enough to not only handle the house that God is trusting to be able to build, but will you be strong enough and equipped enough and emotionally sturdy enough to be able to handle the people that He brings in? And so in this season, again, it's something big happening. It's something grand that we're about to walk into. This shift that's about to happen is about to be big. But I want you to hear me. The shift is moving you now in the direction to walk into your goal, to walk into the promise, to walk into the thing that God has for you, to walk into it. Because what God has realized is that you are prepared for what he's called for you at this next place. But also understand that it's going to happen quickly. That means you got work to do now. And in the month of July, I believe it was the end of July, right before the school season started, I shared something with y'all. And the thing that I shared was, I said, when children go to school, us as parents, we have an expectation. We have an expectation that they're going to go into school, they're going to learn, they're going to develop some things so that at the end of the first semester or the end of that first, when December ends, they will be at a certain level. And so I have made a push for all of us that let us make a goal for our own selves that before the end of the year, that we will be at a certain place. We will develop in a certain area. We will grow in a certain spot in our lives. What I didn't know is that that was a part of the setup. I knew that what I was sharing, that I believed that it was for us. I knew that it was it was a development and it was a thing that was needed, that we needed to be at a certain place before the end of the year. I knew that. I felt that. But I didn't know that it was a setup. I didn't know that it was a part of this shift that's happening. It's a part of this major thing that God is doing. So, as I share all of these things, this is what's about to transpire. I do believe, again, that God is doing something great. So my assignment to you, my push to you is make sure you're ready. If you need to go study, go study. If you need to start developing and working on you, go work on you. If you need to get the rest, go get the rest. Create. If you need to start working on your schedule, work on your schedule. Get it down. We're walking into the month of November, which means we literally only have 2 months before the year's over. So whatever you need to do that you feel like God is telling you and pushing you and pressing you to do, to make sure that you are prepared for what's about to happen, don't delay it. Don't just listen to this conversation and then walk off and be like, oh man, that sounded good. I'm glad that there's a shift to happen better. And then you don't do the work. And I'm saying this because there has been times where I personally have not. I've heard words, people said things to me and shared stuff that I needed to work on or develop or do or whatever that might be. And I delayed in the obedience. And then when things happened, I was not ready. And now I'm trying to hurry up and rush to get prepared. But I'm telling you now, you need to start getting ready. You need to start putting in the work. Because I promise you, this shift is coming. And when the shift comes, it's literally a statement that I've been echoing or I've been hearing in my ears. Ready or not, here it comes. But it would be unwise. It wouldn't even be I wouldn't be a great friend, a great person if I knew this was coming. I knew a shift was happening. And I didn't make sure that I shared it with you. So this is what I'm about to do. In this season of me making sure I'm ready for this shift. I know based upon, how our society functions and flows, is you got to make sure that you're doing this 24 hours a day, basically. Like every single day, you need to be humping, you need to be running, you need to be doing. And in some sense, I understand it. But there's also this thing called rest. And I'm in a different season. I'm in a different place. I'm in a different mindset than I have been, I would even dare to say, in any other season of my life. And what I know is because of the shift that's about to occur, I know internally that I need the strength to carry this out. So, for the month of November and December, I'm going to rest. I'm going to develop myself. I'm going to allow God to pour into me. I'm going to allow me to gain the strength, the information, the wisdom, all the tools that I need for this next season. I'm going to take the time to develop it. I'm going to take the time to really pour and spend time with my family. Pour in and spend time and find the space for me. My friends and those that are really close to me, they know I don't take breaks for me. I normally just go. I'm just running. I'm either doing things for my job, for the ministry. I'm normally doing things for my family. I love my family. I'm normally pouring in and making sure I'm doing something for the podcast. But I don't normally set time for me. And it's important in this season, I know, not just for me, but even for you. It's important in this season that you create the time for you. And I'm learning that in this season of just transitioning from, moving from Texas to Colorado and moving my family here and doing all these different transitions and movements, also with the ministry and all these different pieces, and still trying to be consistent with the podcast and making sure that I'm still having interviews and making sure I'm bringing people to this platform that I believe and know that can be able to help you. All of these things, I have been just running. Bless you, Pastor Jameson. How you doing, sir? I have just been running. But what I know and realize is, and I've said this to y'all, that a part of being or walking in your greatness is understanding this context of being able to serve. But the first person that you have to be able to learn how to serve is you. And the way that you serve yourself is learning how you pour back into you. Hey, Auntie Frankie, good to see you. Learning how you pour back into you. That's vitally important, because if I don't have it in me, if I'm not taking the time to pour into me, to rest my own self, to make sure that I have the strength, the energy, the wisdom for the next season, and allow God to pour back, if I don't have that in me, I can't pour out to you effectively. And I do not want this new season, this new shift that God is about to do in this next season. I don't want to walk into this next shift and not have the strength to make it through it. I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to do that to me. I don't want to do that for my family. I don't want to do that to those that are depending upon me to make sure that I'm strengthened for this journey. So I think that the wisdom is in this season. I'm not quitting. I'm just resting. And I haven't done it. I was sharing it with my wife, and I was sharing it with one of my cousins, and my cousin was like, dude, I don't think you've ever done that. Like, We're going to see how that works. We're going to see if you cannot do nothing, even just for 30 days, because they know that's not, I don't do that. I'm a servant at heart. I love serving people. But most importantly, I love seeing people grow. But it would not be right for me to have a grand expectation for you to grow, and I don't take the time to pour water back in myself. So I'm going to take some time. I'm going to rest. I'm going to allow God to give unto me what is needed for this shift. And when I come back, we gonna rock this thing out. And I believe that what God has in this next season, not just for the podcast, but for your life, is going to blow your mind. And I'm not saying it like, oh man, it's going to be so. No, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind, because I believe that things are going to happen in such a rapid pace. God is going to do things fast. He's going to do things so fast in this next season that it's going to mess you all the way up. But in him doing it fast, that means you have to have the strength to keep up. And a person that can't keep up is not a bad person. That just was not prepared. So I want to make sure that you are prepared for this next season. And I'm going to say this statement again, that ready or not, here it comes. And I want to make sure that you are ready for what God is about to do next. So I might come back on at the end of the year to love on y'all and share whatever God wants me to share. I might, but if not, just stay tuned, because when I come back, I'm coming back stronger than I left, wiser than I left. And I'm going to come back with more passion than I left it with, I promise you. So I love you all. Thank y'all for those that have been supporting this podcast, those that have sown into this podcast, those that have sent me encouraging words throughout the years that we've been doing this, those that have, talked to me on the sidelines and share different things of how this podcast has helped you in certain form of ways. Or I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking out the time tonight to be on here live and watching and being a part of this conversation, as well as for those that are listening on all the podcast platforms. I just want to say thank you, because I know that this is what God has called me to do. I know it. It's not a question in my mind, even though I was a little shaky a couple months ago, but I'm not questioning, is this what I'm supposed to do? No. Now it's, God, how do you want me to do this more effectively in this next season? What is specifics? How do you want me to do this? Because what you're about to do is going to be greater than I can imagine in my own mind. So I love you all. And as always, make sure you do me a favor and you continue to be great. Love you all, and talk to y'all later.